the chosen one. They assembled a whole room of people and laid out their well-planned strategy to humble you. However, what happened next broke all assumptions about the limitations of divine protection. Psychological studies reveal that narcissistic people often organize sophisticated group conspiracies when they feel threatened by someone's genuine authority. But no research can evaluate the extent of spiritual conflict in realms beyond our comprehension. What they thought would be your destruction became the trigger for your greatest success, revealing a secret truth that proved your invincibility. Imagine wearing the mask right now as this individual approaches with a phony casual spirit. Their every action is shrouded in artificial nonchalance, yet every fiber of your being recognizes the warnings. They talk about letting bygones be bygones, leaving the past in the past, and requiring your aid. But your soul understands better. Your intuition is ringing like an alarm because you can sense the agenda seeping from their words like poison dressed as honey. What they're really saying is this: I've seen you rise while drowning in the aftermath of my own destructive decisions. I need you to let down your guard one final time so I can carry out the plan I've been developing in the shadows. This is not reconciliation. It is reconnaissance. It is the analysis of your defenses, the calculating of vulnerabilities, and the timing of an attack designed for maximum destruction. However, you are no longer the person who experienced that poison. You were created in flames beyond their comprehension, shielded by powers they can never comprehend, elevated to great heights they will never reach. In the backdrop of this tale, the universe has consistently sung the same tune. Someone is attempting to restore what cannot be healed, draining oneself dry in order to heal what refuses to heal. However, this is not about you mending someone. It's about how the universe uses brokenness to expose your completeness. Using chaos to emphasize your artwork. Use collapse to proclaim your ascension. Previously, this individual was like a parasite in your life, sucking your soul. Not like love develops, but as mold spreads in damp, dark spaces. Day after day, your light darkened. Your aspirations have corroded. Your energy was sucked, until you could hardly remember what it was like to be vibrantly alive. They were masters of subtle sabotage. When you presented your thoughts and ambitions, the comments were filled with exact doubt, not outright hostility, but deliberate cynicism meant to eat away at your confidence like acid on metal. They fed on your zeal while providing you spiritual starvation. Even when the poison seemed terrible, when you questioned your senses or felt as if you were losing your mind, the world was already preparing for their demise. Every modification was documented in the cosmic ledger. Every ounce of stolen energy was designated as repayable with interest. Every fantasy that had faded was ready to make a reappearance, so bright that it would blind you. The insidious thing was how poison became acceptable. You were advised that your weariness was due to oversensitivity. You were led to feel that your want for help was unrealistic. They mastered gaslighting so well that you almost forgot what healthy energy exchange was. But was that nagging sense in your stomach a sign that your compass was correct? North. That uneasiness was not weakness. It was wisdom. That heavy feeling after each interaction was not your fault. It was proof of spiritual warfare directed at your own core. When you eventually went away, it wasn't simply a personal choice. It was divine intervention, an escape planned with celestial precision. You departed at the precise time before the mask would have dropped, revealing the monster underneath. This timing was not coincidental. Said was fate, ensuring your safety. However, here is when the discovery gets astonishing. This guy did not only harbor hidden animosity in isolation. They did not just simmer in resentment behind closed doors. There is no selected one. They went nuclear. They enlisted others in a destructive effort. A physical crowd gathered, and you were cast as the villain in a well-orchestrated story of victimization. Consider a warped war council. Eyes sparkling with hatred as falsehoods are woven with the zeal of a prosecutor arguing for your demise. You were accused of arrogance, of believing you were superior to everyone, and of making success an insult to their existence. Someone, anybody, was summoned to humiliate you, to deprive you of your advancement, to send you crawling back, shattered and yearning for crumbs of fake adoration. In the room, accomplices were gathered. The ringleader appeared before them like a crazed motivational speaker. They did not, however, inspire success, but rather ruin. There were talking points. There were rehearsed replies to complaints. There were even visual assistance slides developed to make the case for your demise, as if your life were a corporate presentation of vengeance. The mere calculating, the cold-blooded purpose, tells you all you need to know about how far they were ready to go. This was not a spontaneous outburst fueled by petty rage. It was a deliberate act of psychology. Tickle war. The talk started with a planned deception intended to build credibility. They portrayed themselves as the sensible one, the sufferer who had done all necessary to keep peace with you. Memories of your previous relationship were twisted into skewed proof, transforming wonderful times into weapons to expose your alleged shortcomings. The narrative stated you had changed, that success had gotten the best of you, and that you needed to be reminded of your position, as well as who had helped you reach where you are. The strategy emerged with systematic precision, progressing through carefully prepared stages to achieve unanimity. The issue arose first, your supposed superiority complex. Then followed the howl of victimization based on your so-called desertion. Finally, the recommended solution, a concerted attempt to bring you back into subjection, to reintroduce you into a hierarchy you have previously outgrown. The details were what made it so scary. Your routines had been analyzed. Your economic activities were evaluated for weaknesses, and your increasing social circle was tracked with the accuracy of a military planner preparing for an assault. Every aspect of your development was meticulously documented, as if your own life had become a full-time endeavor. Your success was framed as an affront to everyone in that room, as if your affluence harmed their possibilities for happiness. Your successes were distorted so that they sounded like crimes, as if you were operating a criminal operation rather than just living in accordance with your purpose and receiving the benefits of hard labor and spiritual protection. Detailed plans were given for dismantling your reputation, sabotaging your professional ties, and orchestrating circumstances to bring you back under their control. However, something started to move in the room, which the ringleader was too blinded by hate to detect. Those assembled, selected for manipulation, began to realize the horrible reality beneath the veneer. What was being offered as justice was really a disguise for sheer hate. One participant subsequently confessed that the vibe seemed stifling, like seeing someone's soul crumble in real time. Another said it seemed like they were seeing the development of something horrible, disguised as virtue but powered by malice. The deception was so obvious, the hate so apparent, that even those who may have sympathized with the ringleaders started to flinch, physically understanding the danger before them. However, the passion blinded your adversary. The stillness in the room was misinterpreted as agreement, discomfort and camaraderie, and astonishment as joy. The ringleader's voice rose with excitement as they described how each individual could assist, how every effort could be coordinated, and how your demise could be staged to seem as nothing more than unlucky accidents. Backup methods were explored. Alternative techniques examined all angles except one. They had not anticipated the cosmos interfering with enormous power, assuring that their intentions would not only fail, but also backfire catastrophically. When the presentation reached its peak and roles were ready to be allocated, something extraordinary occurred. The first voice to shatter the hush wasn't offering assistance. It questioned legality. The second interruption was not to give aid, but to question the morality of attacking someone who had never harmed anybody in the room. The recruits drew back one by one. Objection arose. Doubts were expressed. Those who were supposed to be warriors in this battle of obsession started to retreat, unwilling to compromise their integrity or face the repercussions. Desperation seized hold. The ringleader's voice increased, hoping to save what was going away. Promises were made that could not be fulfilled. Rewards dangled that did not exist. Every phrase brought out painted visions that went empty. It was often said that dragging you down will somehow boost everyone else up, that your fall would restore equilibrium. But the more they talked, the more the facade crumbled, exposing the seething jealousy and hate that drove everything. The audience could immediately tell that this was not about justice, fairness, or teaching. It was about a person's incapacity to deal with another's happiness. By the end, the conference ceased to resemble a recruiting drive. It had become an intervention, with individuals gradually but forcefully separating themselves. They were not registering for the cause. They were looking for reasons to go. What started as a battle council turned into a silent disintegration, with attendees realizing the risk of standing too close to poisonous energy rather than friends. Your adversary had produced witnesses, individuals who now recognized them for who they actually were. The gathering that was intended to signal the start of your demise became the first act of their own social exile. The group that was intended to unite in an army against you became, in the end, the exact community that would later testify to your enemy's instability. When authorities started examining the harassment efforts, the group's recruiting had failed badly, but the fixation had not subsided. Instead, it became darker, hungrier, and more reckless. When respectable individuals refused to be deceived, they sought alternatives in the shadows. People with dubious morals, connections from dark times, and those eager to cross boundaries that the virtuous would never consider. And here is when the narrative takes a dark turn. The fixation grew beyond social sabotage to endanger your physical safety, financial stability, and even your independence. There were discussions on how to submit bogus complaints against your company, how to create fabricated scandals that may ruin your brand, and how to coordinate misinformation campaigns that presented falsehoods as facts. They also considered methods to manufacture your demise more directly, preparing situations in which you might be jailed, creating conditions that would drive you into financial disaster, forcing you into despair, and, in their dream, crawling back for rescue. What started as an attempt to embarrass you has turned into a criminal plot. But every stride into the darkness was not unnoticed. The universe wasn't only protecting you, it was recording everything. An ironclad case was being constructed in real time, one that would turn their plans into their downfall. Individuals asked to assist with unlawful activities become reluctant witnesses, later presenting information to investigators. Conversations they thought were private were recorded by people intelligent enough to perceive danger and ready to protect themselves from the consequences. Details that no reasonable person should ever confess were stated out in desperation, resulting in proof of conspiracy while they felt they were establishing an alliance. The irony was striking. They believed they were making a net to capture you, but it was the cosmos creating a trap for them. They were producing the very proof that would lead to their doom. And while all of this happened, you remained blissfully oblivious of the extent of the fixation. You were living your life with the calm certainty of someone who had chosen peace over poison. And while your opponent planned, you were building while they obsessed. You were prospering. Your company thrived in ways that defied their forecasts of failure. Your connections got stronger, encircling you with love and true support as they became isolated. Your reputation became stronger, while theirs crumbled beneath the weight of their resentment. The difference became clear. People who had previously pitted them started to realize the reality. Their animosity for you was only an extension of their own flaws. Your prosperity reflected their stagnation. Your delight shone brightly through their suffering. Your progress became the yardstick for determining how much they had retreated. But your alteration was more than just outward. It was spiritual. You had totally embraced your authority. You had transformed into the person you were always intended to be until their poison darkened your light. You now emanated energy that drew in riches, love, and opportunity like a magnet because you had learned to keep your peace and recognize your value without compromise. And as you ascended, the cosmos prepared something remarkable, just as that would not only neutralize their plans, but also convert their passion into the exact weapon of their ruin. The treachery that shattered everything came from the most unexpected source. The person they most trusted, the confidant who had fueled their passion, who had fueled ideas of vengeance, who had helped plan the most devastating methods. This was the person who would become the architect of exposure. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a chance. It was heavenly justice using their own strategies against them. Recording devices recorded discussions that they thought were private and untraceable. Witnesses they had never thought were prepared to testify. All of this combined into a perfect storm, leaving them vulnerable and devoid of denial. Every scheme collapsed sequentially. The first broke apart when accomplices became nervous and fled. The second fell when associates unexpectedly found themselves in legal difficulty of their own. Troubles appeared to emerge out of nowhere, as if the cosmos was demolishing the support framework piece by piece. The third disintegrated when that most trusted confidant, caught up in their own secrets and betrayals, handed over the evidence to authorities, becoming the very instrument of exposure. The betrayer became the betrayed, while the manipulator became the manipulated. The destroyer was destroyed. It was as if every move against you provoked an equal and opposite response, with compound interest destroying their life and boosting yours. They were tossing stones at a diamond mountain, unaware that it was immovable. Every attempt to close the door on your destiny resulted in several fresh possibilities. Every bridge they attempted to destroy became a holy highway leading to new vistas. Every weapon designed against you ricocheted back with deadly accuracy, destroying the very roots of their existence. The legal issues they attempted to create for you were their own responsibility. The financial devastation they envisioned for you became a reality. They tried frame jobs, which served as proof of their illegal intent. The cosmic poetry was evident, unfolding in perfect harmony, leaving even onlookers in awe. What was designed to break you turned out to be evidence that you were indestructible. The system that was designed to be weaponized against you becomes the means of their own demise. The law they attempted to use as a tool of manipulation became the authority that eventually held them responsible for years of uncontrolled destructive conduct. Investigators started questioning not just their behavior against you, but also patterns of manipulation, harassment, and abuse that went much beyond a personal grudge. What started as a hidden passion became a public record, revealing their actual character to those closest to them, as well as the rest of the world. The accomplices they believed they had recruited dispersed like rats on a sinking ship. Each is striving to save themselves from getting sucked down into the quicksand of legal ramifications. Secrets that were once spoken and confidentially become sworn testimony. The same evidence they attempted to fabricate against you became indisputable proof of their guilt. Every effort to assassinate your character became the blueprint for their own character's demise. The plan to destroy your life became the foundation for their own collapse. What was intended to humble you resulted in humiliation on a magnitude beyond their greatest imaginations. And the community, which they attempted to poison with falsehoods, replied with clarity and moral insight, restoring trust in humanity's capacity to identify the truth. The individuals who actually know you saw through the deceit right away. Those of integrity declined to engage in the frauds. Friends of genuine personalities supported you, even when pressure was used to turn them against you. Healthy people intuitively reject poison, and balanced people do not support destructive campaigns against someone whose only crime was leaving a relationship that was slowly destroying their soul. Emotionally mature persons do not engage in complex machinations to deprive someone of dignity just because their light makes others uncomfortable. And I must halt here to ask which one you have picked. Are you really chosen? It's simple to watch videos and hear words about selected ones, but are you living them? When I appeared before the Archons, they made it plain that there was more to this world. True selected ones are scarce. They chuckled at the prospect of our finding one other. Yet here you are receiving this message, which is evidence. Even those who originally listened to grievances became sick of fanatical hostility. It became clear that anybody who devotes so much time, energy, and passion to destroying another person has problems much deeper than the disagreement they profess to be addressing. The individuals who mattered, those with intelligence, integrity, and true love, did not remain inactive. They became your champions, witnesses, and circle of protection. Together, they formed an unbreakable wall of brightness around your existence, which no darkness could ever penetrate. As their legal problems grew, their isolation intensified, every project failed, and their image deteriorated. Divine justice manifested itself with unwavering accuracy. The one they trusted the most, the one who knew every detail of every plot, secret, and filthy scheme, betrayed them with proof so strong that denial was impossible. This treachery was not coincidental. It was not arbitrary. It was heavenly justice acting via human means, ensuring that the exact weapons used against you become agents of their own demise. The authorities had immediate access to everything: phone records, text messages, audio chats, and financial activities. The secrets that were thought to be permanently concealed were exposed for investigation by those with the capacity to demand responsibility and the chosen one. Here is the truth, which raises this narrative from human drama to cosmic demonstration. This experience was never really about them. They were only instruments. The universe provides tools to remind you of who you are. You are not ordinary. You are not average. You are not someone who can be permanently harmed or weakened by the machinations of those who work in darkness. You are picked. You are protected. You are directed by intellect that can see the finish from the start, loved by powers beyond our knowledge, forces that will move heaven and earth to ensure your success. You possess a brightness that no darkness can extinguish, a force that no strategy can undermine, and a goal that no hate can derail. The sheer fact that such sophisticated, multifaceted strategies were devised against you demonstrates your remarkable character. People do not scheme against the inconsequential. Armies are not formed to plot against the commonplace. Your sincerity jeopardizes their carefully constructed facade. Your development emphasized their purposeful stagnation. Your success revealed the reasons they clung to your pleasure, highlighted their pain, and made their darkness evident not just to others, but also to themselves in ways they could no longer ignore. Throughout it all, one person was picked. Every strike was a demonstration of your might. Every strategy became a testament to your protection. Every effort to break became a cosmic evidence that you are and will always be unstoppable. Every weapon used against you becomes indisputable proof of your chosen status. As the cosmic drama reached its finale, the significance of your triumph became difficult to overlook. Not simply a success for you, but a proclamation made through you. It was never only about revealing plans or destroying foes. The cosmos declared its protection over your life in such a manner that there was no room for argument or discussion. Every weapon aimed at you failed to hit. It returned with deadly precision and increased power. Every trap dug in the hopes of seeing you fall became the snare that grabbed its creator, tying them to the consequences of their own evil. Every trench dug for your burial became their cemetery, burying their reputation, connections, and future under the weight of hate they had produced. However, the biggest win was not their dramatic defeat. It was your meteoric climb while they were focused on bringing you down. You were being carried to heights they could never achieve as they planned in the dark. You walked in a light that grew brighter with each step, while others lived in poisonous hate. You acted on love, which expanded benefits in all directions. This is not only about your survival. It is your vindication, your testimony, and your signal to the world that you are not to be underestimated. Schemes born of spiritual bankruptcy will not dull your light. Jealousy and sabotage cannot derail your destiny. You accomplished more than just withstand their destructive assault. You surpassed it. You did not just slip out of their trap. You used it as a launching pad, fueling feats that were greater than anything you had done before. You did not just defeat concerted resistance. You changed it into the basis of a strong testimonial that will encourage other chosen ones to discover their own strength and protection. Phoning the person who formerly sapped your vitality can no longer reach you due to the huge spiritual distance you've walked. The one who earlier made you doubt your worth has no ability to perplex someone who now derives value from an unshakable heavenly source. The connection that formerly stifled your advancement can no longer restrain the person who has completely embraced divine mission. You're free. You are protected. You were picked. You are now unquestionably triumphant. Their effort to lower you became a worldwide chance to elevate you. Their intention to destroy you became an opportunity for heaven to show that the divine is good. No human hand can curse. Their synchronized onslaught set the scene for your greatest comeback. The circle is closed. The lesson is concluded. The triumph is assured. And you've picked your future. One burns brighter, stronger, and safer than ever before. You now carry such clear evidence of divine favor that even your opponents are obliged to accept the hand of protection over your life. What makes this vindication even more astounding is the orchestration of your safety on both visible and invisible levels, while apparent plots fell in dramatic fashion. Subtle involvements were occurring, and silent possibilities arose out of nowhere. Connections appeared at the precise time you needed them. Doors flung open while others slammed closed. All of it. Every coincidence and alignment were manifestations of the same heavenly intellect, dismantling the campaign against you while also moving you ahead. This was never just about survival. It was about change, about the magnificent orchestra fashion, making it obvious that no strategy can flourish against the selected. Long before you understood how serious the situation was, your intuition had been gently steering you away from danger. That business meeting you nearly went to but canceled at the last minute was not a coincidence. It was for protection. That social occasion you skipped because something seemed weird was not due to reluctance. It was divine foreknowledge. Even though it seemed to be a perfect investment opportunity on paper, you passed it up. Every time you listen to your inner voice, your spiritual radar protects you against traps cleverly placed in your path. You were avoiding sabotage that you could not yet see, demonstrating that your link to divine intelligence was operational around the clock. Your lofty viewpoint provided you with sight that others lacked. You saw minor differences in discussions when certain themes came up. When pushed for details about your life, you sensed anxiety and shared acquaintances, as well as invites that never arrived. These were heavenly buffers. Light walls have been created to protect you from gatherings that are intended to ensnare you. Even the court system, which is generally cautious and methodical, seemed to operate at an unusually fast pace after illegal activity arose. Evidence presented itself pretty readily. Witnesses who would typically remain mute found surprising fortitude to share the truth. It seemed as if invisible hands were directing the machinery of justice, assuring prompt and unquestionable responsibility. This era in your life was more than simply surviving assaults. It was all about preparedness. Every meditation that provided clarity, every moment of tranquility that restored your soul, every discovery that enhanced your grasp of who you actually are was laying a solid foundation inside you. You were being reinforced on the inside while also being protected on the outside. The end effect was a presence so strong that sensitive souls could sense the difference between you and those associated with toxins. You exuded serenity and confidence from the moment they walked into the room, while they emitted confusion and despair. You drew collaborators and supporters, but they turned off anybody with discernment. You instilled trust, while their motivations sparked suspicion. Your name became associated with integrity in circles where reputation was most important. Professional networks accepted you. Opportunities for creativity came to you naturally. Financial prosperity surged as if the universe itself was teaching that when one acts with love and sincerity, financial support eventually aligns with spiritual truth. Meanwhile, the penalties for your foes became more severe. What started as an examination into harassment evolved into a search for broader trends. Manipulation, abuse, and patterns of conduct that had injured many other victims gained the strength to speak up. Incidents that were previously rejected or suppressed were reviewed with a fresh perspective, and the betrayal exposed everything. Their closest confidant's decision to turn was motivated by conscience rather than malice. This individual knew that silence implied cooperation in something much beyond what could be justified. It wasn't treachery. It was a decision between the truth and devotion to corruption, justice over evil. Your narrative went beyond personal vindication. It served as a beacon for others, other chosen ones who had faced similar assaults on their integrity, achievement, and even their right to live genuinely in this world without forcing or trying for it. You became live evidence that heavenly protection exists, Justice is unavoidable, and love always triumphs over hatred in ways that make it impossible to deny which force actually rules our world. And picked one. This is only the beginning. The cosmos is far from done with you. For someone who carries the light you carry, walks with the sincerity you embody, and radiates the love you represent in a world hungry for the truth. Destiny is huge. They sought to create your finale, but they didn't realize the cosmos had already written your beginning. And that narrative continues to develop with brilliance beyond conception. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the deepening of my faith. Help me believe you even when actual proof was lacking. Allow me to believe in your continuous presence. I know you will never hurt me. I realize that your intentions for me are ones of success rather than harm, in order to provide me with a bright future. Thank you, kind and everlasting Father, for always hearing my voice. I give this prayer to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provisions. I am thankful for your presence in my life and the richness you provide. If this video spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel and share it with others who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your trip and how you're getting ready for your own victorious homecoming. If you want to help us out, please consider making a donation. Buy me a coffee. This allows us to consistently improve our content in order to provide you with the best possible experience. The link to buy me a coffee is in the description. No present is too tiny. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity spreads God's message and gives people hope. Do not stop here. Watch our next video for amazing insights into the indications that indicate you are the chosen one. We've loved sharing this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for sticking with us until the finish. Keep shining brightly and face your fate with confidence. See you next time. The God Connection sends its blessings to all lovely individuals.